Okay, it looks like nobody is going to take over this channel. We stopped about 4 years ago when the fat orange buffoon had taken office and had threatened to put everything on his own network. Well, he's gone now. He lost the election. Although Rush Limbaugh died. I guess that's the biggest, newest story. Uh, Trump called in to say that Trump was the greatest. He gave him the Medal of Honor, and then he went on to talk about how the election was stolen from him. He spent a lot of time talking about his election stolen. So I think he ought to be given the elegy at Rush's funeral. When Rush first started out, I actually thought this was a comedy routine. I know, but I would sit and laugh, especially when I was driving the car. It was hilarious. And then, after about a year or two, I realized if this guy isn't silly, the people who listen to are, and they were taking him seriously. All right, so what else is happening? Texas. Texas, of course, didn't want no big government city slickers telling them what to do. So now they're frozen up and can't do a thing about it. The governor, who's of course a Republican, is blaming the whole thing on the Green New Deal. And he doesn't quite get the idea that it hasn't been passed yet. And the only things that could be relied on to be supplying power in Texas were solar and wind power. Solar power actually operated at over 100% greater efficiency than any other form. Okay, uh, they spent an awful lot of time in the past attacking California because of the Democrats and telling you this is the way things go when Democrats run a state. So now you know. Speaking of attacking people who run states, Timothy McVeigh, remember that? The Oklahoma City bombing? Well, he was a member of the same militia group that tried to kidnap Governor Whitmer, the governor of Michigan. Because of Trump, of course, he ordered them to. Uh, Now, how did he get away with it? I've said no politician can attack Israel and hope for anything in this country. They'll just be wiped out. Well, that much is true. However, if it comes like this March, I think it was in North Carolina, protesting these Civil War heroes. It was a big march with people saying, Jews will not replace us. That's what they said over and over again. Nobody called them anti Semitic. Someone who says we should stop funding Israel until they allow Palestinians who live there first to get vaccinated. Those people are anti Semitic. All right, now I got that out of the way. Worrying about school teachers. and we all want our schools open. Well, then vaccinate the teachers. What's going on with you? I know that when Biden got in, the schools or the supplies were gone. There wasn't anything there. So they had to order it again, and that slowed things down. Well, Trump, it's sort of like I heard someone say this on the radio. What would happen if FDR were president and Pearl Harbor got bombed, and he said, well, that's Hawaii's problem. Well, that's what's going on with the states and this vaccination, especially when you have so many Republican, pardon the expression, governors in charge of things because they actually don't know how to run anything. All they know how to do is talk about how horrible Democrats are. Um, Texas could be connected to the national grid, power grid. They have their own. It is not connected because they don't want no city slicker or bureaucrats in Washington telling them what to do. And that is why everything has gone to hell in Texas. Student loans. When did the student loans become necessary? Before that necessary, people just go to school. Maybe they pay $100 a semester for tuition. And I mean like the University of Illinois. Elizabeth Warren said a while back when she went to the University of Houston, it was $80 a semester. Look at her now. How did that happen? Well, it happened because of Ronald Reagan not liking student demonstrations. So he cut off money as much as he could in California to the administrations and made people pay or take loans. They tried to make sure that it was safe for rich white people to go to school. And of course they did, but they went to places like Harvard and Yale and etc. So you can just get rid of the student loans. Back when all this Vietnam stuff was going on. And that's why student deferments were being stopped for anyone going to graduate school, but not stopped for teaching. So people wound up teaching instead. Okay, good for them. But they still started to argue, how can you make them go to war if they can't vote? So the voting age became 18. Yeah, well, we're going to go to war. If it means we have to let you vote, okay, we will. Then Richard Nixon comes along and says, well, if people get drafted and have to go to war, and that's what they're upset about, I'll just end the draft. We'll have a big lottery, and that'll be the end of it. The one who really got the increases going, though, was Ronald Reagan. He'd come out of California. He'd been a big shot there. He started charging more and more for students. When he got into office, he made things much worse. Excuse me. And you know what the Bush brothers and Dick Cheney did for international relations. Not got so bad because people will believe this. Just want to tell you this and then I'll take off. It takes an awful lot to become a professional football player. One of them was making $1 million a year back when it was hard to get into professional football and they didn't have inflation like they do now. This guy making $1 million a year quits playing football and enlists to go to Afghanistan. Smart move, right? Took lungs. So what happens when he gets there? He's killed by his own troops. Yeah, we killed him. So you can see how well that worked. Now, bin Laden had bombed the Twin Towers. So he was a Muslim. So we decided to hate Muslims. When Timothy McVeigh bombed that Oklahoma City place, he was eventually put in prison, sharing a cell next to Ted Kaczynski. Now, he was the Unabomber. But Kaczynski really was schizophrenic. When I was taking a course in abnormal psychology, I was told he couldn't be because they normally lose about 30 points. But when they found out more about him, they found out that he's starting at 185. So he could burn 30 IQ points and still be in Mensa if he could put up with people changing the subject all the time. So, anyway, goodbye, good luck, and I'll send you a history of the world or the United States next post. Thank you.